how to flip a house for beginners. That's what we're going to be talking about in this property education training video. So my name's Simon Zutshi. I'm the author of Property Magic, the Amazon #1 property bestseller. I'm the founder of the Property Investors Network with 50 network meetings all over the UK. And I've been investing in property for 25 years. And one of the many strategies I've used is flipping property. So you find a property, ideally below market value, you spend money doing it up, you increase the value, and you sell it to someone else at a profit. That's fundamentally how you flip a house. Let me give you a little bit of detail around the specifics. So first of all, there are three main factors that will influence how much money you make when you flip a house. The first one is the price at which you buy the property. You want to make sure you're buying it at a really low price. Now that might sound obvious, but this is a beginner video, so I want to give you the basics. You want to buy at a discount off the true market value. Now that might be a discount because it needs some work doing to it, or maybe it's a discount because it's what we call a motivated seller. It's what I talk about in my book, Property Magic. We're looking for motivated sellers for whom the speed and certainty of sale is more important sometimes than the amount of money they get. So first of all, buy at a really good price. The second factor that influences how much profit you're going to make is how much you spend on the renovation. Now, when you first start doing this, you may not be as good as you get once you've done a few deals. The more you do, the better you get, the smarter you get. So I would get a builder in the area who you trust, who's been recommended to you, to come and give you a quote. How much is it going to cost to get the work done? There are certain things you could do to keep the cost down, but still make it look fantastic. You want to do a good job. Obviously, you're going to sell it to someone. You want to make the property look fantastic, so they want to pay the top price. If you don't control the costs, that can massively eat into your profit. In fact, that's how sometimes people lose money. They end up spending more than they should, and the money they spend is not as much as the value they create. So something to remember is the money you spend should always be less than the value you're adding to the property, okay? So you need to really control the costs. And one of the ways you do that, you think very carefully about what you want to happen in the property. If you change your mind halfway through the renovation and say, oh no, I don't like this, can you put that over there? The builders say, yeah, sure, we can do that, but it's going to cost you more money. So try and get a really good idea of what you want. Go and look at other properties in the area that someone else has renovated and get some ideas and inspiration about how you can make the property look fantastic. And then the final factor, the third factor that's going to influence how much you make is obviously the price at which you can sell the property. Now, very often investors make a mistake. They overestimate how much the property is going to be worth. They hope it's going to be worth this amount and it doesn't actually sell for as much. They don't make as much money. The way you can mitigate the risk is speak to a couple of local agents, maybe the agent you're buying it from, say, look, if I do this, this and this to the property, spend this amount of money, how much can you sell the property for? And they'll give you what they think. And they say, look, if I had to hold a gun to your head and get you to sell it in 30 days, get a sale agreement, what could you sell it for? And they'll give you a lower price. And that lower price might be the one you want to do your figures on. Now, I have a rule of thumb here. If I'm buying a house, doing it up and selling it on, I want to make a minimum of 20% profit. 20% profit. So if the end value is going to be 200,000, I work out what's 20% of 200,000, that would be 40,000. In other words, take 40,000 off 200, therefore 160 is the maximum I can spend. That's buying it, that's doing all the work, that's the cost of the finance. You might be borrowing money while you're doing all this work, including the selling and the buying costs as well. Why do you want 20%? Well, you need to plan for 20% margin. You might not make 20%, but you need to plan for that because sometimes things take longer than expected. The finance cost might be more, the renovation cost might be more, and you might not quite sell it for what you want. Therefore, if you have a 20% margin, it means even if you spend more and if you sell it for less, although the margin comes down, you still make some money. The worst thing you can do is buy something, spend a year doing it up and trying to sell it, you sell it, and you end up making a loss because then that's not only lost money, but it's a wasted year of your life. Make sure you only do great deals. How can you do that? Get educated. Look, watch lots of these free videos, read books like Property Magic. We have a Property Magic podcast as well, which is completely free. You can find it on Google Play, on iTunes or Spotify. Go and search for Property Magic podcast, and there's lots of information in there. Some of it's for beginners, some's more advanced. but go and listen to that to really understand, to make sure you know what you're doing. So just to summarize, I think buying property to flip, which means you're selling it quickly to someone else, is a great strategy. Two final thoughts. One is you need to make sure it's the right market conditions to do it. When a market's growing and booming, that's fine, or even if it's static. But if a market's coming down, you might want to be careful, because maybe you buy it and you do work, but by the time you come to sell it, the value's gone down and you don't get the price you want. So that's a risk, especially in a falling market. So make sure the market conditions are right for flipping. To cover yourself, I would make sure that if you can't sell this property, you could refinance it to get most of your money back, so remortgage it, and then you rent it out. So you want to make sure that it stacks up as a rental property. I hear amateur investors sometimes say, well, it doesn't need to stack up, I'm going to sell it to another investor. Well, another investor is not going to buy it if it doesn't stack up. If it doesn't make you cash flow, it doesn't have a good return on investment, only a first-time buyer might buy that. And if you're just selling to first-time buyers, you're cutting down your market of potential buyers. So I would recommend that you educate yourself and understand how to do this properly to make sure you make the maximum money. The final thought I'll leave you with is this. You can make a lot of money flipping property. I've flipped property, I've made some good money doing it. But the problem with flipping is that once you've sold that property, you're not going to make any more money from it. And in fact, what I prefer to do is to refinance it to get all or most of my money out and then rent that property out. Then I get cash flow every single month, profit every single month, and I get the long-term capital growth. I've sold properties in the past that I've regretted selling because I've seen how much they've gone up in value. It's hard if you're just looking 1 or 2 years ahead, they may not have gone up as much. But 20, 25 years, which is how long I've been investing, I've seen prices go up, come down, come up again, and I wish I'd held on to some of the properties I've sold. So just bear that in mind. If you want to make money flipping property, it's a great strategy, but actually if you can hold for the long term, you might make a lot more money in the long term and really build wealth for you and your future generations. So I do hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful. Please put a comment below if you've got any questions. I'd like to help you. Please like the video. The more people like it, the more people see it, the more people we can help. And by the way, if you're not subscribed to the channel, click on subscribe, hit the bell icon, and then what it means is anytime a new video comes out, you're going to be notified and you're going to benefit from this free property education training. So my name is Simon Zutshi. I do hope you found this useful. Remember to invest with knowledge, invest with skill. I'll see you on the next video.